So today what we're going to do is we're going to go over a full chest day. As you can tell probably by my voice, I'm a little under the weather. So the theme today is kind of like how to train under the weather, stuff like that. Let's basically get right into it. I'm going to get into the first set here, just warming up, just basically starting up. So bench is already set up. I'm going to do an incline press for first exercise here. So you always want to start kind of really light on that first set. Just let your muscles and joints kind of get lubricated. Yeah, so the big thing is like I didn't train yesterday just because I was under the weather, haven't eaten, didn't drink enough fluids, so I took the day off. So this is essentially my day one of this week, so I'm a day behind. So I'll have to catch that up. But big thing is, if you're not hydrated, you didn't get enough sleep, you didn't eat enough food, essentially what's the point of training if your body is not basically ready for that training day? I did take the day off yesterday. Made sure I got enough fluids and stuff last night and today. Feel a bit better. I'm on the mend, but still kind of under the weather. So you'll probably notice I'm going to be breathing a little bit harder today just because I'm stuffed up and congested, but we'll get through it. All right, so we're moving on to set number 2. So the big thing is that when you're going to do an incline press is hand placement. And as you can tell probably with the last set, I use a suicide grip. So I don't put the thumb around. The reason I don't put the thumb around, I really don't like putting the thumb around just because it puts a lot of pressure on your wrist. And I've accustomed myself to doing it with this kind of grip. You can put your thumb along the bar if you want, if you're afraid of that, but I've done this so many years that this is just the way I essentially do my presses now. And then range of motion, just because I do have shoulder issues, you'll notice I don't come all the way down to the chest. For me, personal preference, I feel a lot more comfortable doing the suicide grip just because it puts all the emphasis on the weight through the bone structure instead of putting it on my wrist itself. And for the range of motion, I don't come down to my chest because, as I said, I have lots of shoulder rotator cuff issues. Tore my left twice and my right once. So I just really don't have that flexibility. I don't have that range of motion. So I go until almost to the point where I'm starting to feel it in my shoulder because I want to keep that tension on my chest. So I would love to go down to my chest, but I don't want to put that pressure into my shoulder. So that goes to show you everybody is different depending on their ailments and depending on their injuries. The range of motion does either it customizes to the person. So I used to go down to my chest when I was younger, and now I can't. So it is what it is. I put my hands, so if you're looking at the bar here, so you see every bar has these notches here. I always put my middle finger or ring finger right around that first one. So when I come down, I'm right at 90 degrees with my arms. And if you notice, a lot of people, especially when they do flat bench, they put the bar down for more power, like a powerlifter's here. You gotta remember, bodybuilding and powerlifting are completely two different separate entities. Their point of view is how can I lift the most with one push. They worry about form just as much as we do, but our main goal is to put more pressure on the muscle, to grow muscle. So in my point of view, I want to do it that I feel it only in my chest, not in my shoulders and not my triceps. I'm a tricep dominant person, so when I press, as soon as I tuck my elbows in, I'm all tricep. There is like minimal chest. So what I do is I flare my elbows out and I put the bar a little bit higher up. So you see me in an incline, I'm pretty much touching myself at the top of my breastbone with the bar. Like I'm pretty much where this microphone is. I'm hitting myself there. And it would be pretty close to, on the flat, I'd be hitting myself just below the microphone here. So I hit myself up higher and I'm gonna put my arms out wider to take the pressure off my triceps and put more pressure on my chest. Yes, that leans me over into more injury prone for my shoulder. But again, I've learned over the years I only do a certain range of motion, or I only go to a certain weight, so I don't put that added pressure on my shoulder joint. And all my injuries, if you haven't watched my YouTube before, have been from shoulder press. So not bench, which is the most pronounced pressing movement for shoulder injuries. Mine has always been on Smith machine shoulder press because I could lift ridiculously heavy for my body weight. I was doing anywhere from 450 to 500 pounds for reps. And eventually my body said, no, you're not gonna do it anymore. So, and it gave me injuries. So the big thing is know your goal. If your goal is to put more muscle on, you have to manipulate your technique for that goal, not for lifting heavier, for making more muscle. So sit down, think about it. If you want to lift heavy, then do a powerlifting technique. If you want more muscle, you're going to have to lean more towards a bodybuilding technique. That's just the end of that. It's pretty common sense, really. So what's your goal? More weight to lift and look cool, or do you want more muscle? And that's something only you can answer. I can't answer that for you. All right, everybody. So we're moving on to exercise number 2. So today what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do flat barbell. I know this isn't something that you would usually see on a bodybuilding regimen, but it is something that you should kind of throw in every once in a while. Like essentially what I would do is I would usually start with an incline, and then I would go to like a flat or a very, very slight incline dumbbell press. But to essentially hit all the angles that you should, flat is one of those ones that you got to throw in every once in a while. Like you can't completely not do it at all. It is an old school, very old school bodybuilding staple, but more in the modern era, you don't really see a lot of bodybuilders do flat barbell anymore. And if they do, like myself, I'm not going extremely heavy. I'm not going to the 4 plates I used to do when I was a young kid and was training for football. I'm only probably going to go, I'll start with 2, see how it feels, and then I'll go from there, but I'm not going to go crazy heavy with it. I may even superset it with like a pec deck or something like that. So we'll see how it goes with this and how busy the gym is, but we'll get this going essentially first. So as you can probably tell, as soon as I lay down, especially on a flat, you'll see me kind of, it's called walking your scapula or walking your shoulder blades together. So I get them pinched behind my, basically everything's pinched right there. I have a slight arc in my chest. So my chest is up and I'm not flat like this. So everything's back. So I'm still grabbing the bar the same as I did over there. Here we go. A little discomfort in the shoulder, so I'll probably, realistically, I might not go heavier than that. I might go up to 2 plates and a quarter, but I'm just doing this to kind of get the motions in. As I said, I'm sick, so I'm not gonna push myself like I would for a normal day. Felt good. I got a good stretch in the chest, but there is that slight little pinch that I felt. So, like I said, I was feeling that at first set out. So, where I did feel that little pinch, I'm not going to push the weight up too much. Definitely not going to go to 3 plates on this. So, that's that for first set. Let's see how it goes for the rest. With that, you're probably noticing that I'm not doing my typical kind of head movement and like chest movement like I've shown in many chest videos, just because I'm protecting my shoulders from the old injuries that I have. So I'm keeping my chest up the whole time, and I'm not letting it kind of come down just ever so slightly and then popping it back up again. So honestly, it's just me being precautious, other than me doing a form that I've done for so many years. And that comes down to me consciously knowing that I've been sick the last couple of days. I haven't been hydrated, so my joints aren't going to be as lubricated as they usually are. All these kind of predetermined predicaments that I've kind of put myself in. So the big thing that you always have to realize when you're feeling under the weather and you're coming in, don't, just because the weights feel light, don't push it, because that's usually when the time of injury kind of pokes its ugly little head out and you start having them. Because you haven't eaten, you haven't drinking enough fluids, you're just not, your body's not where it should be like it usually is. So feel yourself out. That's the big thing I always tell you guys, is go off of feeling, go off of how your body feels. And right now I am feeling a little discomfort in my shoulders, so I'm not going to push it. I'm just going to go on feel and go on making sure that I know I'm not going to lift heavy, because I'm just not feeling great. So I'm going to go until my chest basically goes to as close to failure as I can without jeopardizing form. So that's the whole point of today. I'm going to start off with a dumbbell fly and then go right into presses to failure. So the reason I'm doing the fly first is I've just did a couple presses, and realistically the pressing movement after the fly is I'm just trying to go to absolute failure. So everybody knows on a fly you're a lot weaker than you are in a press. So what I'm doing is I'm going to failure in the fly, and then I'm moving to the press with the exact same weight, and I'm going to failure. So there is no real break. It's just one movement right into the next. So big thing is just always concentrate on your form. Concentrate on, when you're doing the fly, not feeling it in your shoulder, feeling only the stretch in your chest. Going to the point where you can't physically bring it up, and then all you gotta do is drop your elbow, drop into a press, and then press, and right up until the failure. So it's a very simplistic way of continuing on your set. You're just doing two different movement patterns. When I'm doing my fly, I'm opening up. All the weight is more so on the thumb part. And then as I'm gradually bringing it up, I'm transitioning to pinky. So that's when you see the transfer of pinkies first. At the very top, when you go into the press, you notice I'm pausing in the stretch. So I'm intensifying the stretch every single time I get into the press. So it just intensifies that stretch every single rep, because you've been doing it in the fly and now you're doing it in the press. So the whole point of that whole superset is intensifying the stretch. Every single rep, every single movement is intensify. So that's the big thing when you're thinking of that complete set, is just stretching everything out, getting as much blood in there as you can, and then going to absolute failure. So, and do 3 to 4 sets. Don't count reps, just go for it. So in both movements, there's no real rep range. You go into failure in both. So go to failure in the fly, and then go to failure in the press. Right to absolute. And then, like I said, 3 to 4 sets. So big pump you're gonna get out of it. And then we're gonna finish off pec deck. This is just basically a finisher. Gonna do 3 sets to absolute utter failure. Just make sure you keep your form, keep your chest up, head back, and just really concentrate on that stretch and squeeze every single rep. So really get that good stretch, come up and really get that good squeeze. Get as much blood into the muscle as you possibly can each set. So every rep, that's your main thought process. Stretch, squeeze, stretch, squeeze. As you're coming in, you can see I'm pinkies, and then down here, I'm more upper middle index. And like I said, guys, on days like this where you're not feeling the greatest, your nutrition's off, your fluids are off, you go and feel. When I say failure, I don't mean, oh, I did 15 reps last week, I could do 15 this week. I really don't care. You're going off of how you feel that day. And if there's always, life is life, there's going to be a time where stress is elevated or things happen outside your control. You get sick, issues at home, work, there's something's gonna happen that's gonna throw you off of your game. Even if you're 100% consistent with your diet and your water, things are gonna happen. So when you come into the gym and you have that mentality of, I gotta push it, like most bodybuilders do, go off of how you feel that day. Not what your book says, not what your program says, how you feel that day. So a lot of people have this kind of predetermined kind of thing where their program says you got to go heavy today, but everything feels heavy. Well, guess what? Maybe you shouldn't go heavy that day. You should reverse it and go lighter, high volume. Still do the same program, but just reverse the protocol that day. Or the opposite, you come in and you feel amazing, your joints feel amazing, everything feels light, but it says you should do high volume. Maybe you should throw in a heavy day. I'm not saying do it because you're just wanting to do it just because your ego. But if you throw off your protocols one week, the next week you can maybe throw in a heavy day or something like that. But go off of how you feel that day. And that's something that I find is lost in translation with a lot of people. I call it training with common sense. Just if you feel off, your body feels not the way it should, you don't feel strong, your joints hurt, nutrition's off just because of something that happened or you're sick, you automatically know you're going to be off your game. That's just the way it is. So train that way. Still push yourself, but train that way. Train to go lighter, go to like the failure. Don't worry about your rep range, stuff like that. But if you come in and everything's opposite, everything goes great, push yourself a little, go a little heavier. You can still train to failure and still do high volume, but move your weights up a little more. It's kind of common sense. Like I said, common sense. Anyway, so that is the end of the workout today. I'm going to probably do 3 more sets of this. So 4 in total, all to failure. And big thing to take from today, guys, is train the way you feel. And that is the big thing that I try to push. So hit that like button, hit subscribe, keep posting those comments. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you guys. Catch you next time.